Hi everybody, welcome to the Financial Pulse. And we're talking about variable annuities today. We're going to dive deep into variable annuities, and particularly we're going to talk about fees, the fee factor for variable annuities. We're doing a variable annuity series because they're such a big buzz topic, especially for people that are getting ready to retire or already retired. You may already own a variable annuity and you're just wondering whether or not it's still right for you or if it's the right fit in your financial repertoire, or you may be considering it because maybe you need income, or maybe a broker has approached you and said that this might be a good idea for your investments. Variable annuities are very complex, and they're essentially insurance contracts that are wrapped around a group of mutual funds or portfolio, and the performance of your cash value is dependent upon what the underlying performance of those investments are. Now, a lot of times people get confused because there's riders, income riders, death benefit riders, different types of guarantees, and those guarantees aren't necessarily on the cash value of that money. Maybe there's a return of premium rider or something like that that we'll get into later on, but the variable annuity is very complex structure because there are so many moving parts. You've got fees for riders, you've got mutual fund performance and fees for the mutual funds, and you've also got different kinds of benefits, income benefits, periods of time, maybe surrender charges and so forth that really kind of build up and make these things kind of hard to make decisions. And that's what this is all about. This series is about empowering you to make smart financial choices and to confirm whether or not the choices you made have been the best for you and whether going forward it's the best thing for you. So variable annuities, let's just talk about it in the sense of a bucket. And we're going to put this money in a bucket. So here's our variable annuity bucket. And when we invest in a variable annuity, they call it a premium deposit. So we're going to put money in the bucket, and that's called premium. And that premium is going to be invested in whatever underlying investments, mutual funds or exchange-traded funds, or a mixture of the two, in a portfolio matched hopefully to your risk tolerance. And the performance of that money is going to grow dependent on the performance of that portfolio. So not only does the premium go into the bucket, but we're hoping that also returns go into the bucket. Dividends, interest. So we're hoping that the underlying investments are going to grow and continually fill this bucket up with more and more money. That's the whole point. The big problem with variable annuities, or pitfall, is that they actually can have a hole in the bucket. And of course, the more we pay in fees, the less performance we're going to have. So let's talk about some of the holes that you can actually experience in your bucket. A very common rider is an income rider. And it's very customary to see those be charged at 1%. Another common rider that's used is the death benefit rider, and that could be charged at 1% as well. And of course, most variable annuities, if not all, have what's called a mortality and expense charge, and that's usually around 1% as well. So right out of the gate, before we even get started, we're paying 1% for an income rider, potentially 1% on a death benefit rider, and then we got 1% on a mortality and expense charge. Now, fees are all across the board, and depending on the share class and the different types of annuities or the models that you choose and the bells and whistles you put on them, obviously the more bells and whistles, typically there's more charges. See, investment companies and insurance companies have designed this product, and when they design all of these different products, they design it with what in mind? They design with their profit in mind. Of course, they're trying to make it attractive and enough an investment for you to make money so that you'll want to put money in there. But you've got to realize that these contracts are very complex and that these type of fees are very, very common. And so that can really erode at the growth of your money. But there's another hole in this bucket. Remember, we talked about how the money in a variable annuity grows. Well, it grows according to the performance of the underlying investments, which are mutual funds or ETFs. So we've got another hole, and that could be another 1%. So before we even get started, we could potentially have 4% or more in fees. Now, because of the way commissions are paid to brokers and so forth, different share classes these annuities are offered in different share classes. And that's for the payment structure of the commission to the broker. And it also allows you to have more options as well as far as surrender charges and the time period which you have to hold the annuity and all of that good stuff. So if we have 4%, let's just think about this, 4% in fees. So the big bucket down here is we're losing 4% every single year just in fees. So oftentimes retirees will tell me, if I could just earn 5%, that would be great. And I would tend to agree, right? I mean, the T-bill right now is, the 10-year T-bill is running around 1.5%. So of course 5% sounds good, but 5% is not unreasonable to ask for in a moderate to conservative investment, especially when you're investing in the market. But let me ask you this challenging question. If I'm paying 4% in fees, but I want to make 5%, what do I have to earn in my underlying investments in order to net 5%? That's right, you have to make 9%. So while 9% is definitely plausible, could you really expect 9% year in and year out? Probably not. So that's one of the things you want to really watch and be careful of. Because if you start drawing money on this account, let's say you're paying 4% in fees and you say, well, I'd like to take 5% out every year to live on. Well, now you're eroding 9% of that principal every single year before you even have either a loss or a gain. So very important, the fee factor of a variable annuity to consider. This is all about empowering you and your education. I hope it was beneficial to you. Make sure you download some tools that we have here available on the website to empower you to make smart financial choices.